Guess what woke up to this morning? Apparently the world is going to hell. The sun's about to be destroyed. And oh yeah, Hasbro selling Dungeons and Dragons again. What's up, nerds? It's way too early. It's your boy. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. It is the last day of January 2024. And in the past 24 hours, we've got not one, but two major announcements coming about regarding Dungeons and Dragons from, well, reliable sources, question mark, question mark, question mark. So I went to bed last night and I was like, okay, you've got 24 hours, Wizards. You've got 24 hours to make an entire month without anything major happening. But nope, we got not one, but two. And this one seems to have taken precedence over the other one. So let's address them in reverse order. According to the rumor monger universe, Hasbro is selling D&D to Tencent Media. Who is Tencent Media? They are a major video gamey thing. They own Laren and some other things. I think they're based in China. I tried to find their website, but the only thing I could find was one with a whole bunch of what looked like Chinese letters. So I don't know a lot about them. I'm still trying to find out about them. I do know Laren Video. Laren Video made Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, they'd been working on it for 6 years and working on the deal from 6 years. But yeah, they made Baldur's Gate 3. And despite all the weirdness, it is probably going to be Game of the Year. It's making Laren and by association Hasbro millions of dollars. So, and it would, if they were to sell it with it to somebody and to further their, we're taking D&D 100% digital and turning it into a video game, then selling it to Tencent, who owns Laren, would be a good opportunity. And of course, this has spawned a lot of, is Wizards of the Coast selling D&D? What does this mean for the 50th? Is D&D doomed? All right, so first, you fucking marks. Wizards of the Coast doesn't own shit. All right, let's just again, okay? Wizards of the Coast doesn't even own the building they're located in. Wizards of the Coast is a non-entity when it regards to the new negotiations of Dungeons and Dragons, the brand. That said, Wizards of the Coast's very own head D&D architect, Jeremy Crawford, made a video yesterday, link down below, regarding the status of D&D 2024. And he said it's amazing. The responses to the latest surveys, amazing. It's exactly where they want it to be. And they're so excited to release the next Player's Handbook for 2024 and start the ball rolling eventually. They've also made it very clear it's not coming out in March. So there goes my theory that the Player's Handbook digital will be available in March. Jeremy Crawford made it very clear, obviously anything Crawford says, take with a grain of salt, that it's not coming out in March. So April, right? It's got to be April. It's got to be Gen Con. All right, moving on. Would Hasbro sell Dungeons and Dragons? And would they sell it to Tencent, a gaming company with no connection to role-playing whatsoever? Okay, if there is a universe where Hasbro would sell Dungeons and Dragons, they would split it into two things. One, there's D&D the brand. Remember, we talk about this almost daily. And D&D the game. Now, if they were going to sell D&D the game, just say, hey, somebody else deal with all the bullshit associated with the 50th anniversary, with the rules, everything like that. They'd probably sell it to a company they already have a very good relationship with, who's already making games for them, who are very well received. So if Hasbro was going to let Wizards of the Coast go, they would probably, the first step would probably be Renegade. They already have a relationship with Renegade. Renegade's already doing all their other IPs. It makes sense that they would give it to a gaming company who is familiar and established in the tabletop role-playing game community, as opposed to video games. Now, in regards to the digital shit, because now I think we have to split D&D into three. I know I just said two, but actually now I think we need to split it into three. Once again, Wizards of the Coast doesn't own Dungeons and Dragons. So D&D, the tabletop role-playing game, franchise number one. Would Hasbro sell it off? In a heartbeat. I have 90% sure that if they thought they could pull out of the disaster of last year by letting Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop role-playing game, go, they would. I think it would be incredibly weird to do it during the 50th anniversary and the Year of the Dragon. I would wait to next year, but I'm not Hasbro. And we should check how well the Hasbro stock's doing. We're at it, right? What is my stock at? Oh, man, I don't remember. Oh, yeah, it's, what is it? Who holds my stock? I forget. But, okay. We'll get back to that because I don't remember right now. Oh, Schwab's. It's Schwab's. Okay. Let's check how well Hasbro's stock is doing with this announcement. Okay. Because I still have a share, which means I can still do this. Oh, you want me to confirm my identity? I don't want to do that now. We'll do it later. All right. So where was I? Segue. Sorry, it's early. I'm only having caffeine now because Steven woke me up. And far be it for me to miss a chance to continue to engage in the non-existent dust-up between myself and Steven. I love this guy. I mean, he's my top 5 for going to news. So people who are saying we don't get along and we're competing with each other, no. Man, I'd give it, if a choice is between me and him, take him. All right. So would they sell off Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop role-playing game? Absolutely. Would they sell it this year? It wouldn't make a lot of sense, but it being the 50th, I'm sorry, I'm getting the code to check the stock. I know I'm a little schwazzled today, but this is like what I woke up to. All right, stock is at $50.88 a share. It is down $71.24 from where it was 6 months ago, and $58.34 from where it was a year ago. So this announcement has not done anything to change this stock yet. Moving on, would they sell D&D the video game? Because again, I think at this point D&D is 3 separate entities. Would they sell D&D the video game to Laren/Tencent? Absolutely. Why wouldn't they? 1, hey, we don't have to deal with the harassment and stress that this video game is causing us and all the bad press that's associated with it. That's a ton of energy. We could focus on something that isn't getting bad press, like Peppa. 2, we're not a video game company. Why don't we give it to a video game company who actually knows how to run video games and VTT and all these other things, D&D Beyond, and all these other things we've been saying we want to do for the 50th and going forward. We've been saying we want to do this digital push since 2020. Once again, Hasbro has told you what their plans were for Dungeons and Dragons in 2020. So why should we do it? Why don't we get a ton of money, give it to somebody else, let them handle all of it, and we can still make that 0.00001 cent like we do from the Laren shit and all the other video game shit. And then we can show our investors, look how well digital's doing. We told you. So absolutely, I have no question that if they thought they could make money on it, and if they thought it would relieve them of all the bad press the video incentive has caused them over the last 4 years, yeah, they dump video in a second. I think they would dump the game mechanics in the second. I think it would be weird to do it in 2024, but if, another company could hit the ball rolling fast enough that 2024 D&D was still ready by Gen Con, maybe. I'd say 80% on that one. 99% selling off the video game. Selling off D&D the branding, though. That multi-million-dollar Dungeons and Dragons the flamethrower, Dungeons and Dragons the yo-yo, Dungeons and Dragons the cartoon, Dungeons and Dragons 50th anniversary special cereal edition. Remember the Magic the Gathering Hot Pockets? Dungeons and Dragons flavored Hot Pockets. That Dungeons and Dragons beard oil shit. All that other stuff. That's all pennies that Hasbro soaks up anytime somebody uses the D&D brand. They own that brand. They own that idea. That idea, Dungeons and Dragons, is right now still theirs. Would they sell that off to a video game company that may or may not be based somewhere? Because again, I can't find anything on this company. And, Steven is saying, and ENWorld is saying, take this with a grain of salt. The source is very sus. So don't be jumping on the, oh my God, Hasbro is going up in flames rumor. Okay, let's just call a spade a spade. Can I say that without being considered racist? Whatever. The source of this inspiration is sus. And even Steven, our good boy Steven, says, hey, what if these guys just saw my video and the other people who are making videos about this and said, wow, what would happen if we push this narrative? Doesn't have to be true. Remember, nothing on the internet has to be true. It just has to get you guys to think it's true long enough for the story to earn them some heat, like everything that's going on with Jim or anything else, right? It could be 100% false. It could just be a joke. It could just be somebody saying, I saw Steven's video 3 weeks ago. I saw the OGM's video. I saw Pundit's video. I saw Tanker's video. I've been watching all these stories about Hasbro, D&D, how bad press. I could just release this story and everybody else would talk about it. And it would, so yeah, it's sus. All right. Until Hasbro says it, I'd take it with a grain of salt. Hasbro stock is ticking. Oh, Steven likes my channel. I love your channel, Steve. You should invite me on someday, or I should invite you on someday. Yeah, we should talk to each other someday. But yeah. Now, Hasbro does need cash. And Hasbro did kill a huge chunk of creative and a huge chunk of D&D creative. But that's not a surprise considering, well, I mean, I'm sorry, J. Scott Garrity and all the other people who still think Hasbro and is doing a great job with Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons. They're not. They have dropped the ball seriously for that chunk of the 3 franchises that make up Dungeons and Dragons on the 50th anniversary, Gary and Dave's baby. 2 out of 3, Hasbro has dropped the ball. And Hasbro has allowed this festering pit of bad press of Kyle and Mackenzie and all these other people to fester within the industry for far too long. And if they're following the whole, well, bad press is still press, you're still talking about us mentality. Well, yeah, but you're bleeding money. You're bleeding money. What would be a great way to get a lot of money really, really quick? And probably if you handle, if they spun this the right way, this is my 16 years of working in the theater industry, the film industry. If Hasbro spun this the right way, if it was true, it would be a gold mine, right? But they have to spin it the right way. But if they could, and again, remember, this is 100% not confirmed. And even Steven admits it, that this could just be a massive troll to get, some game company some attention, or just somebody with a computer having a laugh, right? So again, this is not confirmed. This is all hyperbole, hypothesis, hydrogen, other words that start with the letter HW, HY, whatever. I need more caffeine. I'm sorry. Let me take a breath. So if Hasbro sold off D&D, the game, for the 50th anniversary to Renegade or somebody else and spun it right, they could make a gold mine out of it, especially if they get it on the market by or before Gen Con, which is August 1st through 4th. My birthday! 2, video games. I don't think there's any way to make this spin that other than positive. When you think video games, you don't think Hasbro anyways. And as much as they've been pushing the video game incentive and the D&D Beyond incentive and the D&D virtual tabletop incentive, it's still kind of, it's still, of the 3, it's the one that people are like, yeah, whatever, I'll believe it when I see it, despite the fact Hasbro has been saying it. So there's no question that if they sold off the video game stuff and the VTT stuff and the D&D Beyond stuff, which I absolutely think they should, to somebody who could, run with it better. And then, yeah, there's no way that could be bad. Nobody's going to go, oh, fuck, Hasbro's not doing D&D Beyond anymore. I'm so angry. I don't see anybody doing that. Well, other than maybe Scott. But other than that, nobody's going to go, I'm upset that Hasbro let the video game shit go. And I think if they spun letting the tabletop role-playing game go the right way, it would be a positive. Because let's face it, again, not a lot of good feelings in regards to Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast, and the populace. I think most people would be like, thank you for selling it off to somebody who's actually going to treat it well. But if they sold it off to Tencent, a video game company, people would like, oh, what are they going to do with it? They don't understand what THACO is. They don't know who Gygax is. So, yeah. D&D 2, Renegade, 90%, but I doubt they'd do it in 2024. D&D video game, Tolaran/Tencent, 100%. I'm surprised they haven't done it already. D&D the brand. D&D the breakfast cereal, D&D the flamethrower, D&D the Pop-Tarts, D&D 50th anniversary calendar, D&D 50th anniversary stickers, D&D 50th anniversary t-shirt. That I don't see them selling off. That I don't see him anywhere else. Oh dear, did anyone suggest they Google Gygax? No, okay, I'll Google Gygax. Gygax. You mean Gygax the band? Okay, I've got one about Luke and Troll Lords. I've got one about Ernie and his hospital stuff. No, I don't see anything. I've got one that he died. Yeah, that was a long time ago. I don't know why I'm seeing this now. Yeah, if there's something going on with Gary, I don't see it. So what are you referring to? Please let me know. So I think I've wasted. Get RC on you with you. He's in chat. I could, if he wants to join me. I don't have a lot of free time because I got to go to the doctors. But sure, if he wants to. You know me. I don't like these to go long too. But I mean, sure. I mean. What am I going to say to him that I haven't already just said? But yeah, if he wants to jump on for a couple minutes, sure. But I'm sure he's pretty busy. With his own shit. But sure, if he's got a couple minutes, feel free to jump on, sir. I just sent the invite. I think I sent the invite. You know I'm not very good at this. All right, I'm going to Google Gygax again, see what it is you're talking about. Why is there a news story about that? What does that have to do with Gary Gygax? Why am I getting news stories about Gygax's cause of death? Are there people who think he... I sent him the invite. Oh my God, my giddy aunt. It is the infamous Steven. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Oh, you got to mute you. There you go.
How are you? I am honored.
Yeah, no, I watch you whenever it pops up. It says live. I like your little show. It's nice.
I like your little show too.
Every day.
Thanks, man. That means a lot to me.
Sure. So yeah, your analysis is correct. It's I mean, not to pat my own back, but I did predict the VTT and the digital and all that, and like a year ago we put out all these videos and that was 100% correct. And then and I was thinking about this a lot in my original video I put out 3 weeks ago, because a lot of people were asking me who were they going to sell to, and I was thinking about it, and I, basically it went from Larian Studios, because Larian basically was almost created to do D&D. Like that was their goal. Like the whole reason they even did Divine Divinity was to get the Baldur's Gate license. Like that's how much they love D&D. Cool. So yeah, what were you gonna say? So anyhow, I was thinking if anyone wants to get D&D, it would be Larian, and they would probably, they at least the video game and the digital part. And definitely. Tencent owns 30% of Larian, and Tencent is worth 100 times more than Hasbro. So, to them to buy D&D would be nothing. I mean, it's literally like pennies to them. So
Now, who is Tencent? Because the only thing I could find
oh,
online was a
Tencent?
Chinese site.
Tencent is one of the largest entertainment conglomerates in the world.
Okay.
They own a part of pretty much every single video game studio in the world. They own 100% of Riot. They own like 10% or 30% of Epic Games. They own From Software. They own everyone. Like, they own everyone. They are very big. They're worth it. Hold on.
Those checks I've been getting from them. Okay.
Yeah. Now they're.
I thought Luke owed me, but all right.
Let's see, Tencent. Tencent. They've been around a long time. I actually used to work with them a long time ago. They're very heavy into video games and entertainment in general.
Are they
do a lot
in the States or
no? They're Chinese. They're Chinese.
Okay, that explains why.
They're Chinese, and they own. Let's see, they own the majority. They totally own Funcom. They own Riot Games. Let's see, what else do they own? There's a lot of games. I'm just doing the ones they know, like Supercell. They own 84%. Grinding Gear Games. They own 80%. Epic. They own 40%.
Wow.
Marvelous. They own 20%. From Software. They own 16%. Ubisoft. They own 10%. Paradox. They own 5%. Remedy. They own 4%. Larian. They own 30%. And that's what only people know publicly. They own a lot. They're really big. They're a huge player. They're a big company. They're worth billions, hundreds of billions, and they're Chinese owned. Yeah. So they dabble, and what they do is they buy small percentages of all these companies. They owned a big part of the Microsoft, of Activision, and they made a fortune when it was sold to Microsoft. So they dabble. And that's pretty much how how Larian was able to spend, because think about it, they spent 6 years with 400 people creating Baldur's Gate 3. And no one can just do that. You need immense pockets to just do that. And that's how they were able to do that. It's like, they make a lot of money, but not that much money. And Tencent could help them out, fund them while they were developing it. And then when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, they did great, and they made all that money back. So there you go.
So I think we agree that if it's 3 separate franchises.
Yes. Yeah. My original video was only talking about selling the IP for video games.
Yeah. Oh, I could. Right. I 100% agree.
Yeah, that's what I originally said, because
all the digital stuff they could and should let go of, because it's just a negative press magnet for them.
Well, they had 4 or 5 video games last year that was in development, and they canceled all of them simultaneously. And that didn't get a lot of news last year, but they basically have been exiting that space. I think because they came out with, what was the game that came out with? I forgot. They came out with a game last year that actually I was really excited for. It was like a fighting game with Drizzt and all those, and it was terrible. So it did absolutely terrible. I was really excited because it was a sequel to one of my favorite games, and it was just atrocious. And the thing is, it's very hard to make video games. It's very expensive. It's a big risk. There's a reason way everyone's losing their jobs right now. It's a very hard industry.
Yeah, it's never really been their thing.
Yeah, it's not their thing. Yeah. And it makes more sense. They already do sell licenses, though. That's the thing. It's like the Baldur's Gate 3, which drives me crazy, because that was a deal that was done 7 years ago. So everyone who's there now, who's taking credit, had literally nothing to do with it.
Exactly, yeah.
They weren't even there. So, that was, and they just made a percentage of money. They made like approximately, I think it was like 24 million on licensing, something like that, which is nice. But the thing is, and I've been saying this a long time, D&D doesn't make that much money. I mean, D&D makes like 10, 20, 30, 50 million for them, maybe 100. I don't even think it makes 100 per year. Magic makes $1 billion a year for them. It's like, D&D is a huge albatross that they just don't know what to do with. And right now, this is as good as it gets. So they either have to spend hundreds of millions to promote D&D Beyond in the digital space, which is really going to be hard, or they sell it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. Yeah. You guys deal with all the harassment, all the technical bullshit, all the other stuff, and we'll make our 0.0001 penny.
Right.
Win-win.
Yeah. I mean, and they need money. I mean, they're in real bad shape. I mean, the stock, everyone's like, makes fun of them. But from a real financial point of view, they're in deep trouble. Like they could go bankrupt. Like people think, oh, that's not going to happen. I'm like, they actually could. They're not firing 30% of their workforce for fun.
Yeah, if the international shit doesn't make them, the kind of money that they, used to making, that Peppa money and Nerf money.
Yeah.
And the toy money, which is also, just not making them a cent. And, they totally screwed up the Power Rangers deal. So they definitely need an influx of money.
Yeah, they need money, and the only way you can make money, I've said it, they can sell their own stock, which they probably don't want to do. They can get rid of their dividend, and that's another problem. Is that they need, I think they need $400 million in cash per year for their dividend. They have $3 billion in debt, and they have to pay off the interest of that. So they need just cash, liquid cash. We'll say $1 billion. They don't have it. Like they're going to have to start raising capital, and they either take on more debt, they fire more people, they start selling stuff, or they do better. And they've already fired a lot of people. So the next step, they're not going to, if they cut the dividend, the stock will tank because large holding companies will dump it because they hold it just to get the dividend. So that'll make the stock go down further. So they can't do that. And then if that does happen, they're ripe for a hostile takeover, because if the stock goes down to 30, which could happen if they do something.
It's at 50 right now.
Yeah. Well, if they cut the dividend, the stock will tank to 30. And then then they're ripe for takeover. And they'll probably be taken over, and it'll be hostile. So they probably see it's like, well, it's time to start selling IPs, So, and if they can get a billion, if they can sell the whole thing, they might sell the whole thing to Tencent. And Tencent, what they could do is they could become the reverse stakeholders, is that Tencent owns it and then Hasbro does distribution, which would be weird, but it could happen. Weird things have been known to happen. So
have Tencent be daddy, and then have Renegade do the game shit, Tencent do the video game stuff, and somebody else do Dean, the breakfast cereal stuff.
Yeah. Or maybe even give it to Paizo, let them do with the D&D. I mean, half of Paizo and D&D, like half the people work. I mean, I work a lot with Paizo. Half of them work with each other. And then the last 2 years, everyone at Paizo was getting poached by WOTC. All my writers who worked on all my products at Roll for Combat, half of them went to WOTC, and I couldn't use them anymore because they have a very strict non-compete. So I was like, crap, I can't even talk to them really. And so everyone I was using left. So they're all over there. So D&D will probably look a lot like Pathfinder, in my opinion. So I know this sounds crazy, and everyone's like, this will never happen. And I'm like, and I do take this with a huge grain of salt, like you said, but you know what? It's not that crazy. It really isn't. No. It's just not. I know it sounds like, look, in the end of the day, these people see these as ways to make money, and they just happen to be games. And the C-suite and the upper management, I don't think understand or even care about D&D at all. I don't think they care at all. And they just, if they can make money and sell to someone, so be it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we agree on 99% of that. Yes.
Yeah. So
I still don't think they let it go completely, especially the merchandising this year, because it's the 50th, 2025. No. Sure.
Oh yeah, no. They would do this, and it would be like no. They would sell it, and it would take a few years. Like when they sold the E1, that took a while. Like this would be one of those. They sell it, they get an infusion of cash immediately. They go through like the D&D 50th anniversary. And then sometime next year is the transition.
I totally agree. Which would, hit that 2027 doom date that they put over D&D.
What's that? The doom date? What do you mean?
That thing that they put out when they said, there's this thing that on the Hasbro calendar for a while, the internal calendar, it's a June 2027 D&D 6X. And then when they came out, and for before the OGL thing, when they were talking about switching to D&D Beyond and D&D 6, Crawford said, we're telling a 5-year plan. We're telling a 5-year story, which would end around 2027.
I see.
So that's kind of been hanging in the air now. And, if they did sell it after the anniversary, I could see it being completed by that date. And then Hasbro goes, look, we told you we were going to do it.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at us.
Yeah, but I mean, if it gets sold, it would be something where they're still involved. Like, I think Hasbro would still be involved. If they sell just the video game IP, I think that would probably make the most sense, as they sell
definitely.
just the video game IPs. And because Tencent has so many video game companies, it wouldn't just be Larian. It was like any of those companies I just listed would then be able to make D&D products. And that's a lot of companies. They own a lot of companies. And, that would be good for everyone. So, and this is very common. Like, this is, for people who aren't familiar with the world of business, like, this happens all the time. Like, companies are always selling aspects. LucasArts was built on this. I mean, Star Wars was built on them selling aspects of their IP. They weren't the ones making Star Wars laundry detergent and dishwashing liquid and pajamas, like that. Everything was licensed out. They licensed everything they could. So
yes, you do it, we'll take our 0.0001 penny for each sale, and
yeah, exactly.
You deal with the bad press.
Yeah, right. Well, for this, it wouldn't even be that. It's like, okay, we'll sell you the full rights and you own it. Well, I took it from Marvel, because Marvel, my original video was that, and no one remembers this because they probably weren't alive then, but I was. And
when Marvel was Universal,
Marvel was in the exact same boat. In the 90s, Marvel ran out of money and they went bankrupt.
Yeah, that's why Universal has the Hulk and Spider-Man.
Right. And they sold everything. So they sold all their IPs. They sold Spider-Man and all Spider-Man properties to Sony. They sold Fantastic Four to Fox. They sold the Hulk. They sold everything. But they sold everything. Blade. Like, people forget Blade. That wasn't done by Marvel. they sold that to make Blade. And they made all that money. And then basically Spider-Man is what woke them up. When Spider-Man made so much money, and Spider-Man made like $2 billion, and they made something like, it was like 63 million of that 2 billion in revenue share. And then they realized, so, these superhero movies are getting big, but all we have is the D team left, and like Guardians of the Galaxy, none of, like, all these properties that no one else wanted, and they turned it into gold, and that's basically what happened. Yeah. Does Tencent have anything to do with Lineage? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. Tencent's been around for a long time, and they're a Chinese company, but I hate to break it to people, Chinese companies are like, there's a lot. Chinese companies are in a lot of companies you already deal with on a daily basis, whether you realize it or not. So, it just is the fact of the world. So, and I know a lot of people are angry if this happens because they don't want D&D or any aspect of D&D being owned by the Chinese government. But I don't know. Welcome to the world.
Weird, but it is as American as apple pie, but.
Yeah, but so is Disney, and Disney basically does everything they can to appeal to Chinese audiences right now. So, just a worldwide market now. It's like one big market.
Totally.
But anyhow, I have no idea if this will happen or not. And this could be the tail wagging the dog, because it literally is everything I said in my video. So either someone took my video and just rewrote it and made it fake, which could happen.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Or I was 100% right, to the point of scary.
Yes, exactly. Everybody who's watching this, including some trolls, remember, this has not been confirmed. It is 100% hyperbole. This could be, like Steven just said, a huge troll. So
Oh,
please do not be posting videos. Wizards is selling D&D this morning. Or
well, I already did one, but my video is more like, I mean, the thumbnail was a little, catchy, clickbaity, but the actual context, which you got to watch, I basically say that. I'm like, look, I have no idea if this is true.
I watched it.
Yeah, it's just a link. A lot of people were sending this to me. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's out there and it's being reported, so I'm reporting it, and therefore, who knows?
And you thought you were just going to talk about the D&D 2026 Creative Commons things, 2024.
I actually was. That was when I had to change my topic because there's other big news.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about today too. But then it's like, oh well, now I got.
Well, people are getting contracts from Hasbro. I've been hearing, and I spoke to some of my contacts, and that is true. And so, but I was like, wow, I thought that was big news, but this is actually even bigger. So I don't know what to. So I can't believe it. So now 2 huge pieces of news.
I know. What are we going to do? Unfortunately, I have to go to the doctor in a bit, Steven, because I'd love to pick your brain for hours. But if you ever want to come in on again or invite me on for your show, please let me know.
Sure.
All right. I got to let Steven go. Thank you, Steven. And if you guys have not checked out his thing and his Kickstarter and all his other stuff, I posted a link below. Roll for Combat. Definitely in my top 5 of sites I go to for news and stuff like that. And he is usually a day ahead of anybody else. So please check him out. And then, if you have any extra love, give it to me. But obviously, Steven and ENWorld and those guys first. Thanks, Steven Glicker. Thank you. Whoever posted the video initially, because look at all the stuff we're going to be able to talk about today. So, hey, at least we got a topic today. Thank you, whoever, even if it is a troll. We'll talk to y'all later. Have a great day. Drive safely, because remember, it's still winter, and I'll talk to you soon. Like, share, subscribe.